Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a fantastic day as we continue to celebrate so many amazing people across the great state of Mississippi who are working so hard to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, last week we had a live remote, last Tuesday, a live remote from the Mississippi Municipal League, and I had the opportunity to touch base with a number of people, including the mayors of Ocean Springs and, the Bobby Cox and the mayor of Biloxi, Fofo Gillich. Excuse me. Fofo and I talked about the casino situation in Biloxi. I think they have like 4 potential sites now. And, there's a lot of activity here and there. What's going to be interesting as they move forward in Biloxi, you're talking about the need to invest upwards to $1 billion in a development now. That is a lot of money. So I could see the various players, those who are either financing these projects. Some cases they're talking directly to the people who are going to finance them. The developer is the person with the money. It will be interesting to see as they go forward how much each of them stay on the sideline to see what the other one does. Because as we discussed, you're talking about in coastal Mississippi, a $1.5 billion gaming market. We're not going to grow the market by just having the same number of casinos that we have today, especially when you think about the regional competition. We've talked about all this on the show, but the competition is happening across the state, the proliferation of online sports betting especially, but there's some online gaming as well. That the only way we're going to grow this market is we're going to have to add additional players. And there certainly seems to be the opportunity to make the pie bigger. So it will be interesting to see as these various companies make the decisions about these absolutely gargantuan investments that they're going to be making in our community, how much they wait to see what the others are doing. That's going to be interesting. Big players at the table. Also, it looks like we're getting closer to a point where the Fed's going to start reducing the interest rates. And when that happens, I think that's going to free up some money. It's going to start creating some opportunity for some of these to get built. We discussed the Broadwater. What an incredible landscape that is, how much land they have there. And of course, that's Cotton Four and Roy Anderson. And I know for a fact they've had a lot of conversations going on there. I don't know anything specific about it, but there is the potential for a gigantic development there. So a lot going on. I wish I could to crack into some of these heads and really understand what these conversations are, but Biloxi is a $1 billion gaming market now. Think about that for a second. And Fofo believes that it can be a $1.5 billion gaming market. How do we do that? And he thinks that you got to let the free enterprise kind of run forward and let the market decide. And I guess those who are going to be making these big investments are going to decide, is it worth the gamble? Because there won't be any more $300 million casinos built in coastal Mississippi. We're literally talking somewhere between $700,000 and $1 billion to make literally a resort casino investment work. That's just what it's going to take now. And then what's going to happen as we go forward, you're going to see a lot more non-gaming. This has happened. I was talking to a major developer just the other day. What you've seen is a major trend in Las Vegas toward non-gaming development. That's where a lot of the revenue is coming from today. What you'll see in coastal Mississippi is a lot more focus on non-gaming development. And as I said in my conversation with Michael Sunderman, it's going to be a little bit like Disney World, because think about Disney World. What keeps your family wanting to come back? Your kids, and then now their kids. What does is that it's constantly getting updated and new events or whatever. They're keeping a fresh eye on it so they can speak from one generation to the next and keep people coming back. Same thing's true for the gaming industry. And as more competition gets out there, the more that's going to be the case. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, interesting conversations. We're going to be talking a lot more about that. The gaming's role in the Katrina recovery with the 20th anniversary coming along. There is no way to avoid a lot of conversation about how the casinos, the revenues attached, the jobs attached, and so much more, the role that the casinos played in our massive recovery after Hurricane Katrina. Just no way to overstate that. So that's going to be part of the conversations going forward. Speaking of the Hurricane Katrina anniversary, it's going to be part of it, just about every conversation from this point forward. But someone who I have had many, many conversations about Katrina and the transformative nature of the aftermath of Katrina is with my friend Tish Williams, who's the executive director of the Hancock County Chamber, and she's going to be joining me for the whole show today. So, Tish, how you doing?
We're doing great, and I love hearing all this conversation about the casino industry because Hollywood Casino just hosted the annual gala for the industry and did a fantastic job. And really, if you haven't been to Hollywood Casino lately, you need to come check it out because the GM over there, Barry Regula, is doing so many things. In fact, we're going to be opening up the Holly Deck on August the 7th, which is taking over the entire back of the hotel, which really has been a non-revenue producing area. They're turning it into an outside deck. They've got a marina back there. You can just come by boat, Ricky, and join us on the Holly Deck. You know, there's all kinds of great things happening with Hollywood.
You need to. I want to have him on. For a matter of fact, I've had multiple people say that I should have him on, and I'm surprised he hasn't been on already. But if you'll make the connection for me, we'll definitely have him on. But yeah, Michael Sunderland and I talked about it. You know, Michael was involved. He was the chairman of the golf event that they had in conjunction with the Hall of Fame event for the Gaming Association. And Michael on the show commented that they wondered as they moved the venue around, as they moved it over to Hollywood over in Hancock County, would it affect the number of people who came? And he said it was just an absolutely extraordinarily well done meeting, and that people enjoyed it. And of course, Michael and I went through each of the Hall of Fame recipients, and it was a terrific event. And Hollywood, is on a lot of people's radar screen as a result of those kinds of things. But it's true, isn't it?
It is. And Barry, we're going to be recognizing him this year as one of our top 10 outstanding citizens because what he's doing there at Hollywood does not stop at the front door. Everything that he does is driving visitors to our community, and it's flowing into our small businesses. And so what he does is making a tremendous impact, not just on our small businesses, but also in the city coffers.
Yeah, I mean, you think, again, yeah, you think about the two casinos you have here. Both of them are deeply engaged in the community, and that's always been so important, hasn't it?
It really has. And, they also play a leadership role. They don't just, stop at their front door. Both Hollywood and the Silver Slipper Casino are out in the community, and they're using their resources to help grow the community as they have for decades.
Listen, I think I've mentioned this to you because I certainly talk about it on the show a lot, but I have finished my book about hope. The name of the book is called Finding Hope. And there's a lot of Katrina in there, but it ended up evolving into more than that. It's a book of 26 lessons with 2 additional bonus lessons. But one of the lessons is about getting your hands dirty. And I think one of the things we learned after Hurricane Katrina is that money is important, and people do, we're thrilled when people make contributions. But the real key to community leadership is getting your hands dirty. It's about getting in the trenches and understanding, how your skill sets can be applied in the community in a way that makes the community stronger. And, I would say, and I think you would agree that after Katrina, we found out who was willing to step up and who wasn't. But the truth is we had so many that were willing to step up that we came to appreciate and understand that this capacity we have in our community, this willingness to get into the trenches, that's one of the things that makes this such a special place to live, work, and play, isn't it?
It is. And, you can feel the bond. It's forever. it's all are welcome here is our mantra. And I think Katrina was actually, a catalyst to make that happen, because we relied on each other to
Yeah.
achieve our goals of rebuilding this community into what it is today. And in fact, last night I was with Jolynn Trapani, and she is one of my heroes after Katrina, and just watching her and the entrepreneurship that she showcased in all of the disasters that she faced. Well, in a couple of weeks, her son with her will be opening a new restaurant, their second restaurant, Anthony's Italian Restaurant in downtown Bay St. Louis. So it's passing the torch to the next generation. I think that's exciting.
That's so cool. It really is. Yeah, one of the things that I said in my book is that we have a tendency. Yeah, I say the lesson is don't judge a book by its cover, and the lesson goes on to explain that before Katrina, we moved so fast through our lives that we would too quickly size people up. And when we get back on the other side, I'll tell you the rest of that story. So we'll see you with Tish Williams after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Visiting with my friend, my dear friend, someone I respect greatly, have worked with in the community. As I've said before, more time than I care to admit. We're getting older, aren't we? Or maybe we're just standing still in time. That's the way I'd like to say it. Because in my heart,
we're not standing still,
Tish,
Ricky, but we are getting
Tish,
older.
hey, in my heart, I'm about 29 years old, so that's for sure. But Tish, when we went to break, I was just mentioning this whole notion of don't judge a book by its cover, and what the essence of that lesson is in my book is that before Katrina, I would say the way I described it is we moved through life so quickly, and this is true now, incidentally, but it's an observation I made about sort of the pre-Katrina world that we were in, and we would size people up too quick. The type A personalities would tend to get all the attention. The type B personalities, they weren't really looking for attention, but they were quietly getting things done inside your company and inside your community. And what happened after Katrina hit is it sort of changed all of that. And we got to find out the essence of who people were. And some people you expected to step up just didn't. And some people you would have never expected to step up. Maybe you didn't even know who they were there in droves doing amazing things. And so what I came to write about that is that we need to slow down. We need to look at people and understand the essence of who they are, and not judge people just based on appearances and their surface, but to really dive into their heart and soul to understand who they are. And I think Katrina taught us to do that, didn't it, Tish?
It did. And, we have the opportunity to really showcase those people every year during our annual gala. And it's coming up on August the 28th at Hollywood Casino. And we celebrate our outstanding citizens, people you might not know who are quietly behind the scenes making a difference for all of us. We celebrate our businesses. And this year we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Chamber by the Rotary Club. So it's a lot to celebrate every day, but every year we make sure we do this through our annual awards gala.
Hey, what's great about it too, is that yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is this year we're doing something different for our gala. There's no speeches, there's no videos. It's only going to be a party. Wear red, wear gold. We're going to roll out the red carpet. We're going to have a parade of all of our honorees, and we're just going to have fun connecting with each other, because that's really what the Chamber does best, connect people. So we've got a band coming, the 4-H tradition. It's just going to be a really big party, but we're also going to be celebrating the citizen of the century. And there's only one person that comes to mind over here in Hancock County, and that is Leo Seal Jr. So his family will be joining us. We're going to celebrate his memory and the legacy that he left. We're also going to be celebrating Hancock Whitney as the business of the century. And this year, Mississippi Power is celebrating their 100th anniversary too. So they are going to be recognized as the industry of the century. And the Bay St. Louis Rotary Club, which is celebrating this weekend, or I should say last weekend, with their 100th anniversary, will be the nonprofit of the century. So there's a lot to celebrate, and we should stop and recognize people for the contributions that they have made.
Leo Seal Jr., man, I'm so fortunate, honored to have known him personally. And I've told people, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but he would, when I was publisher of the Sun Herald, even before I was publisher of the Sun Herald, he would tend to write me these handwritten notes, and I would put them into a file. And, he was such a supporter of Stennis, and he wanted the extension of Stennis to be about teaching our kids about science and math, the whole story, and, the Infinity Center and how much he was behind that and so on. But he would just send these long handwritten notes. It would be observations about the paper. It'd be things in the community and whatever. I would often write him back, and I would put them in a folder. Well, when I left the Sun Herald, I forgot to grab that folder. And, I would have loved to have had the opportunity to go back and read it. But what a visionary inspiration he was. And he set the course. I mean, now we have Hancock, Whitney, one of the strongest regional banks in the entire United States. And, he and George together selected John Hairston as being, they're a future leader of the organization. And boy, did they do a good job, because now John's leading the big bank and doing such a great job. But boy, Leo Seal Jr., talking about a leader of the century, maybe it goes back even further than that, but transformative leader. It's good to be able to recognize people like that, isn't it?
Right, and to always honor their memory. And we do that by celebrating our citizens. And I'm just so thankful to the family for allowing us to do this.
Yeah.
One of the things he took from me is, he would call me and say, Tish, when are we getting a grocery store?
I see that. So,
yeah, 3 now.
Yeah. So, hey, real quick before we leave this whole notion about don't judge a book by its cover, there was one particular, of course, I'm not going to mention his name, but a leader that was, in the community, and we saw him as someone that could be at our table and help us in the recovery effort and so on. And after Katrina, he just kind of vanished. We didn't see him anywhere. And of course, I mean, it's like Anthony DePazzi and me and George and, a long list of us. Well, about almost 2 years after the storm, he wanted to talk to me and Anthony, and we went to visit with him, and he was mad at us. I said, "Why are you mad at us?" He said, "Because you didn't include me in the recovery effort." I said, "Are you kidding me? We weren't included in the recovery effort. We chose to step up and do whatever." But I said, "You know what, man? And the way I described it was, you weren't there when we pricked our finger and became blood brothers." And what made me think of that is what you said about the bonding that you do, the bonding that we did in the aftermath, and how we were all worked so closely together. He wasn't there for that, and he will always have to account for that. But Anthony and I said to him, "We're super tired. We could use the help. So come on in. We'd love to have you." So, we didn't admonish him. We just said, we weren't included, and you weren't there at the in the immediate aftermath, but man, we could really use your help today. So thanks for calling us and expressing your point of view. But thank goodness there weren't many like that didn't come forward. Most everyone that we would have expected to step up did. And I think the bigger story was all those that you didn't even know who they were, and they came through in such amazing ways. I mean, that's what a statement about the human spirit. And that, again, I mean, when people come in from outside this area, and you and I have talked about this before, Tish, but what they see in us, what they see in our hearts and souls, changes forever. Whatever perception they had about Mississippi is completely obliterated after they get here. You've seen that over and over again, haven't you?
I have, and hearing you talk about this story reminds me of something my mother would say to people when they would move to town. Don't wait for an invitation. If you see something that needs to be done, jump in and get it done. All are welcome here.
Right. So I think it was Roland told me this, or somebody earlier in my career, but they said, assume authority where authority is lacking. Just assume wherever it is, in your company, in your volunteer effort. If you see a need, be a leader. Go and don't even ask for attention. Just go fix it, solve the problem, do whatever you need to do. And if you do that enough, if you do that consistently, you'll be known as someone who gets things done. I always tried to live by that, but you're right about that. You know, that was your mother who gave you that advice. She was a smart lady.
Yes, she is.
Super smart lady. So, okay, as you guys barrel down on the Katrina anniversary, there's a lot going on there too, isn't there?
There is, and we're getting a lot of calls from media who want to come and do stories and celebrate really the rebirth of the Mississippi coast. We have a Ground Zero Hurricane Museum down in Waveland, and they are coordinating all of the events that we're going to be celebrating starting on August the 8th and on through the 29th. So if you're interested and you want to come over and be part of that, you just need to look at the Waveland Ground Zero Hurricane Museum, give them a call, and if you want to RSVP, it's 228-467-9012 at the Waveland Ground Zero Hurricane Museum.
Hey, the way you said that, Tish, is something that I've had to get in my mind correctly, and I think the way you said that's terrific. When I talk about the Katrina anniversary, the 20th anniversary of Katrina, celebrating the 20th anniversary of Katrina, it's hard to celebrate Katrina, but that's not what we're celebrating. What we're celebrating is our rebirth, the renewal that came from Katrina. And boy, there's a lot to celebrate, isn't there?
We're better than ever, and we've built back better. And, you know, Haley Barbour said it best, you know, let's hitch up our britches and get it done. And we have done just that. And when you come over across the coast, you see what a beautiful rebirth we have had.
No doubt. I mean, he in that special legislative session when he said, what will our kids and our kids' kids say of us? Will they say we got it? And I think that they will say that we got it. I'm confident they will say that we got it. Are there things we could have done a little better? For sure. When you think about where we were and where we are now and the dreaming that continues today, I mean, the opportunities to advance the ball, and young people who are just babies and some not even born when Hurricane Katrina hit are now, you know, becoming leaders in this community. What an amazing thing to be able to say. In fact, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back on the other side. But the leadership program at Hancock, the Hancock Chamber is so important, and we'll talk about that. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. We have Tish Williams, who's the executive director for the Hancock Chamber. Always enjoy visiting with Tish. She brings so much institutional knowledge to every conversation. And she's a jack of all trades. She's doing a great job, incidentally. I've said this before, but the work that you're doing to use multimedia to celebrate businesses and ribbon cuttings and get a chance to know some of these small business owners the way that you do it, that has been terrific for y'all, hasn't it?
Well, and it's been so much fun because that's what I studied in college, to be a broadcast journalist, and I never got to do it. So now I'm doing it through the chamber, and people stop me in the grocery store, and they're like, thank you so much for doing these stories. We love seeing all these stories about the businesses. So I'm having fun doing it, and I think people really enjoy watching it. So,
well, it's super positive, and it's positive. There's energy to it. It's really good stuff. You know, again, I think we would be remiss if we don't talk about this because it's something that is got to be part of every conversation, whether I'm talking to chamber leaders or the business council or even organizations like United Way, for example. But leadership development cannot be more important. And when you think about the generations that have gone through the leadership program, I think didn't it start like in the 1990s at the Hancock Chamber? Think about the generations of people who've gone through that. You see marks of this leadership program all over the community, don't you?
Yes, you do. And it really is exciting because we have really put a lot of emphasis this year on our Young Professionals program and recruited Jordan Bradford to be the chairman of that group. And he's recruited a number of young professionals to join him in these leadership positions. And as a result, he then ran for elected office on the Bay St. Louis City Council. And the city council has now elected him as president for the 4-year term. So this is really exciting to me to see. You know, we were talking about as a chamber, we've got to bridge the leadership gap. And I think we've accomplished the goal. How exciting is it to see these young leaders really picking up the gavel and going forward and using their skills to help improve the community.
You know, what's so cool about that, Tish, is that you bring these people in and you have no way of knowing initially just ultimately what their impact's going to be. You almost kind of got to get out of their way and let them develop and find their place, and they will exceed your expectations. We shouldn't put any limitations on them, but what a great story. And now he's in a position that can really help. Okay. So he does that for 4 years. What's next? It will be interesting to watch people like that, because as John Harrison has said so many times, you let people, especially young leaders, flex muscles, and then before you know it, they're leading everything. I mean, you never know where that's going to take them. You guys, you mentioned young professionals, but you've also been working to solidify the young professional network in Hancock County as well, haven't you?
Yes, we have, and Jordan has been a key player in doing that. We now have something every month for our young professionals to come together through lunch and learns and after hours events, and it's all about just bringing them together, connecting them, and building relationships that can lead to other leadership opportunities for them. And also, we're accepting applications now for the Hancock Leadership Program, and that is available through July 31st. We will be receiving applications. So if you are interested, we have been told it's one of the best leadership programs in the country, and it's very affordable. So go online to hancockchamber.org and put in your application. You will not be sorry to do that, because it is a great program.
Well, it's good for a lot of reasons, but Hancock County, when people think about Hancock County, they tend to think about only Bay St. Louis and Waveland. They don't think about Diamond Head. They don't think about Stennis. They don't think about the Port and Harbor Commission and what's happening there. It's a very diversified place. And when you can connect with what's happening at Stennis, when you can connect that to a leadership program, wow. I mean, you're talking about hitting on a lot of cylinders, aren't you?
Yes, and it's, one day a month, and one of the days is at Stennis Space Center, and this class this past year told us that was their number one favorite day, because it's not something that you can do. You can't just walk through the gates. You have to, have a planned tour. So they saw things that they never knew existed. And, of course, Partners for Stennis and Michoud, which we also manage, we've been advocating for the robust funding of the NASA budget, and have seen our congressional delegation really step up and provide the leadership that was needed to be able to secure the funding that they needed this year to continue the Artemis program and also to improve infrastructure out at Stennis Space Center. So hats off to Congressman Ezell, Senator Wicker, and Senator Hyde-Smith, because they really stepped up to make sure that was protected and that happened.
Well, you think about it, man. I don't know if people realize kind of where we were in that moment, but the administration had on their agenda to eliminate the Artemis program, and had that. Okay, we'll come back to it got funded, but as you began to contemplate that, what kind of impact were you thinking about?
Well, even though you don't want to say it's a jobs program, it does affect people's livelihood, because it would have shut down operations that would have caused people to have to look elsewhere for their positions. And also, if you think about it, it's like we've already invested so much in the infrastructure for the Artemis program. Why would we walk away from it now when the commercial industry is not ready to take it to the next level? So this didn't make logical sense. We've already invested so much in this program. Let's keep it going until the commercial industry can step up and take it to the next level.
So when you think about, when you think about Stennis, certainly a lot of private commercialization has begun to occur there. Is the future of Stennis Space Center on the private commercial side, or is it on the NASA side?
Both. Because we still need NASA to do what they are doing. We still need their contractors to do what they're doing until the commercial industry can step in and take it to the next level. So also, the $120 million that is allocated for infrastructure improvement is going to give NASA the resources they need to be able to improve infrastructure to attract more commercial industry to Stennis Basin.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the buffer zone, the wisdom of our forefathers to set that aside. There's, when you think about encroachment and all that, it related to the testing of the engines, et cetera. Man, our forefathers were brilliant in setting aside that amount of land. And as a result of that, just think of the future growth opportunities there. I'm sure you do. I'm sure everyone that you're involved with, when you talk about the partners for Michoud and Stennis, they're all fully aware of the potential going forward.
Yes, and it's not just about NASA. There's a huge Navy presence out there with the Naval Meteorology and Oceanography Command. They're about to have a change of command there with the Special Boat Team 22. I mean, the Navy presence is very important to Stennis Space Center and also to the Navy to keep that as a national asset.
Hey, one of the things that I have I've been writing a lot about it, about the need for a coastal Mississippi Economic Development Alliance that would bring all of our economic development people would continue to do what they do, but would bring them together. And instead of responding to requests, we would get much more proactive to go out and find the big whatever. But one thing is for sure, as we go forward, opportunities at Stennis are going to be very significant. One of the things I detailed, incidentally, was the number of jobs that are tied to military and casino industry in coastal Mississippi, and did a lot of calculating. But 87,000 jobs, either direct or indirect jobs, are involved in military and gaming. Now, that's Stennis, and that's Bollinger, and that's Ingalls, and CB Base, and Keesler, et cetera, and of course the gaming industry. Boy, that is a lot of jobs tied up in two major industries. And as we saw on the government side, it could be really tenuous. You felt that clearly when you had to work so hard on the Artemis funding. But we're living in an uncertain world these days, aren't we?
Yes, we are. But you know what? That's why it's important to have advocacy groups like Partners for Stennis and Michoud and Chambers of Commerce and Gulf Coast Business Council and others out there, because we are keeping, our eye on the ball and making sure that our governmental leaders know that they have the support of the citizens. The citizens are saying that this is important to us, and we need your leadership to help keep that funding in place.
Yeah, I mean, when you add it all up, man, it is. I mean, you understand why coastal Mississippi is an economic engine for our state. And then you start to understand, wow, what do we need to do to diversify? What do we need to do to grow? How do we grow? And what are the kinds of things we need to put in place? And how can we take advantage of what Governor Reeves just recently pointed out, these companies that are onshoring their production and whatever back into the United States. Mississippi is beginning to see a real blip on the screen as it relates to that. So hopefully coastal Mississippi can benefit from that as well. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation for the final segment of today's show with Tish Williams. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. We have Tish Williams from the Hancock Chamber with us today. And Tish, I'm telling you, sometimes we just ought to record some of the conversations we have off the air, because I think that would actually help some folks. We had a terrific conversation off the air.
Everything should be recorded.
Do what now?
I said not everything should be recorded.
Oh, I'm with you there. Now we have people wondering. We have them wondering. It's all future focused and very positive, and it's about giving people a bit of a nudge forward to be more proactive. But the August 18th, the Mardi Gras, Amtrak Mardi Gras service starts. It's going to be connecting New Orleans to Mobile, and Bay St. Louis is a stop. And, how excited are y'all?
I don't think there's any city more excited than Bay St. Louis, and we even have an ad hoc Amtrak committee that meets on a regular basis to talk about how we are going to have the best celebration on the inaugural run day of any city on the service track. So just wait. We cannot wait. I mean, look what we did just for the original announcement. We had the raw oyster ladies out there in costume, and we're going to have bands, we're going to have music. It's just going to be so much fun, and we invite everybody to join us at the Bay St. Louis Depot. It's going to be on the 16th of August for the inaugural run, and we don't know the exact time, but it's going to be sometime around 9-ish that the train will be coming into the Bay St. Louis Depot, as I understand it.
Well, what's so neat about this is, that area where the depot is located was always viewed as a part of the downtown area of Bay St. Louis. But you're talking about bringing more life into that area where you are now. Actually, it's exciting, isn't it?
It is. And, one of the things that we're working on is developing a volunteer program for citizens to be able to be a part of the Amtrak program and be volunteers to meet and greet the visitors who will be coming to Bay St. Louis on and off the train. So that's something that we're working on, and because we want people to feel welcomed when they arrive, and we want them to be informed as to what is available to them to take advantage of. All they have to do is look across the street and see all the businesses that have popped up across from the depot. That was a non-revenue producing area for the city, and now it's fully booked with bars and restaurants, liquor store, Hot Works Exercise. They've got, 2 exercise companies down there, a flip-flop shop. So it's just really exciting to see the small business sector come to life down there in the Depot District. So they don't have to look too far. But there will be golf carts, I'm sure, that will take them down to the downtown area. So we're ready. Can't wait.
So Haley Barbour said after Katrina, he said, we said, Governor, that name is the Governor's Commission on Recovery, Rebuilding, and Renewal. That name is too long. We really need to shorten it. And he had a conversation with Governor Jeb Bush in Florida prior to that. And Jeb really compelled him to think about the steps of recovery, and that in order to truly renew, to take advantage of the opportunities, sadly, but that they're there now, the opportunities, you've got to do some other things. So he said, we've recovery, rebuilding, and renewal. We've got to recover. We got to start to rebuild. And then in the context of that, we've got to be thinking about how to renew ourselves in ways that we never thought were possible. We're going to dream in ways we never thought were possible. And we've got to do all three simultaneously. I don't want to lose sight of that. And I thought that was terrific vision. But when you think about recovery, rebuilding, and renewal, when you think about all the things that have happened in downtown Bay St. Louis, specifically in downtown Bay St. Louis, related to the aftermath of Katrina, where you are today, all of those things have happened. Recovery, a tremendous rebuilding, and a renewal when you think about the harbor and now Amtrak and hotels and all the things that you're having the opportunity to appreciate these days. It's a fascinating recovery, isn't it?
It really is, and I think we need to thank Senator Roger Wicker for having the vision to go to bat to get the funding that we needed, and I'm sure Cindy Hyde-Smith and Congressman Ezell are involved in that too, but I know it started with Senator Wicker years ago to get the funding for this Amtrak service. Who would have ever thought that this was possible? And the Southern Rail Commission has worked for decades trying to make this happen, and here is going to be a reality in just a few short weeks.
And people like Kay Kell has really kind of stood the course of time on that commission, hasn't she?
Yes, she has. She said it's going to be a great birthday present for her to see this inaugural run happen. And, everybody needs to get their tickets, because in order to keep it going and to show that it is needed and appreciated, we've got to use it. So it's not just about people coming from New Orleans, but it's about all of us on the Gulf Coast going to New Orleans, going to Mobile, getting those tickets, and let's keep this service running, because it's a true asset for the Gulf Coast.
Good stuff. I always enjoy catching up with you. And what a great opportunity to kind of see what's happening. And I'm sure we'll talk again really soon. But good luck with all your events, the 100th anniversary events, recognizing your leaders, celebrating the leaders of a century, et cetera, et cetera. So you got a lot going on. I don't know how you and your staff of 100 do what you do.
Well, we just brought back Mary Cowan. Ann Petrie is going to the Silver Slipper, but Mary Cowan worked for us 15 years ago, and now she's back taking that position. So,
well, she knows the community. That's terrific. Great. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.